Fun Rich Mamas. It's Mitch here. I am so excited to have you back and for you to listen to today's episode because I have someone, talk about a massive dose of inspiration that you are going to get today. I met this lady a little while ago because I got my girls started in Ju Jitsu, and she happened to be the owner of the studio. And so it's been a little over a year. We've had the chance to talk, and just her stories are amazing. And just what this woman has accomplished is just talk about taking some situations and just plowing through them. So I'm like, I need to get you on this podcast because there are some ladies that need to hear your story because they're probably going through some similar situations and maybe don't quite have that readiness to get there. And they just need to hear you so that they can know it's possible. So she went from being a teacher to owning a jiu-jitsu gym. Not only that, but she is a second-degree black belt, which means she's been a black belt for 6 years, which basically also means she is absolutely amazing. And she is a 6-time world champion. And I can't even imagine what her bedroom wall looks like, right? With all the belts and stuff, but it's got to be pretty impressive. So sit back, relax, get ready to be inspired, and let's welcome my guest, Karen Baines. Let's get started.
All right. Thank you, Mitch. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. I'm so excited to have you here. So just a little funny for everyone. We had started recording this and I forgot to hit record. So this is round 2. So thank you, Karen, for your time and for your grace. And what I would love for everyone to start off knowing is a little bit of the background of where were you at and what was kind of your mind frame? What was going on when suddenly you decided to go from being this teacher to just completely changing the trajectory of your life?
Okay, sure. So, so I guess I'll start off. I guess I'll explain. There's probably 3 loves that I have, and besides the one I'm married to.
Of course.
But I'm a spiritual person, so I believe in God first. He's really helped my path, and I can't imagine going through life without having the hope, that I find in the Lord. And then being active, staying active and healthy, and then also just a passion for children. So it's like. I'm just gonna start off. I'll just tell you my life story, Mitch.
I love it.
Summarize. So I think everybody kind of has some drama and stuff along their life, but in a nutshell, I started off life whenever I was a child, I wanted to be a police officer. From the 3rd grade to my senior year, I was even in the Police Explorers program, and I was the lieutenant. And I thought for sure I want to be a police officer. And then one of my friends, who's much older and wiser, was like, you're probably going to want a family, and is that kind of the career that you want, being a mom? And I was like, no. Okay, I think I'll look at being a coach because I like, working out and, and teaching children and stuff. So then I was always active in school, doing 6 sports at a time. And my mom was like, she had 5 kids. So it's like, can you just get out of sports? Yeah. 5 kids, 2nd pregnancy, unexpected twins. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, because this was in the 70s. They didn't do ultrasounds. They did x-rays. And so one was like a silhouette of the other. She went into labor and she's like, oh my gosh. She's like, I feel like there's something wrong. The nurse went over there and she's like, she's having another one.
They're way to find out.
Yeah. You've got to deliver another child. So then my mom was ecstatic. 2nd pregnancy was a set of twin girls. So she had a 1 girl, set of twin girls. And then there's me, the 4th girl. And there's a newspaper clipping in my baby book, Dulio wants boy, but it's girl, 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 girl. And I'm like, really, Mom? My baby book? Why don't you really tell me how you're feeling about my birth?
Couldn't you put that with the twins?
Yes, right? Can't be like a boy and a girl, but then my brother came along, so she was happy there. But I was a major tomboy growing up, and love adventure. I like challenging myself, and doing all those sports. I did end up walking on to a track team in college at Tarleton. I didn't earn a scholarship right away. I walked onto the team and just outworked everybody. I would just train hard and stay focused. And I was just, me and my best friend, we were just pushing each other every day in practice. And we would finish first and second. And I was just beating all the girls that came there on scholarship. And then by the time the season started, the coach was like, I'm going to give you a scholarship. So, there's always hope if, I always tell the young athletes that are like, well, I don't know if I'll get a scholarship opportunity. I'm like, well, at least just give it a try. You can always walk onto a team. And if you just get in there and work hard, then, you never know what will happen. But I was mentally prepared for that race. And I remember I read this book, and it was like mental success. And I had to write a report on it, and it was right before a conference. And I got a lot of my mental, visualization and visualizing success from that book. And it was a little short read. I can't even remember the name of it. That's probably why I chose it for my report. It was a short read. But
I can do this tonight.
Yeah, procrastinator. So, but I was mentally prepared for that race, and I visualized myself pushing that second lap as hard as I could go, and it really worked out like how I had visualized. I visualized myself, really pushing hard from the 400 to the 600, it's 800 meters, so it's 2 laps. So after that first lap, when everybody kind of keeps their pace around the curve, I picked mine up, and I mentally saw myself passing everybody and leading. And I think I came across about 5th place the first lap, and then I just started passing people. And then that home stretch, I just kept gaining on the first place girl. And I was just definitely push my body beyond that mental, where your body's like telling your mind, no, you don't have any more. I was like, no, I know I have more. I've got it. And then I went off and threw up. But
but you have the medal, so
I was completely exhausted. But I used a lot of those strategies throughout my life in preparing for my fights. And so I did have this high school sweetheart, and we dated all through high school, and my last 2 years of high school, all through college. And then we split up because I was like, man, I really just kind of grew up with them. I'm probably more in love with this family, like they were my family. I felt like I had 2 sets of grandparents. 6 years. But I felt like we were going 2 different paths. I was really, really wanting a family and children. And he's like, I don't want to get married till I'm 30. And I was like, okay. I'm like, okay, we're going in 2 different directions.
That changes things.
Yeah. And so I broke up with him, and I was only split up with him for 6 weeks. And I met my previous husband, and we only dated 6 weeks, and he proposed.
Wow. Whoa.
And yeah. And so not recommended, but I was
There's a reason he's a previous husband.
Yeah, but I guess I thought, man, I've dated someone for 6 years. I can make it work with anybody. You just work at it. And, I never really fought with a guy I dated all through high school. But there was a lot of red flags, and I just ignored them. And then the deeper I got, he proposed so quickly, and I told all my friends, oh, I'm getting married. And then I was like, oh, wow. And I'm stubborn. I am so stubborn. And you could just ask my mom. I was the one that was always screaming for a cookie, and I would just scream. She would finally just throw a cookie at me out of frustration, just to get me to shut up. And then I'd look at her and be like, but I wanted 2 cookies. Oh my gosh, child. Like
I can imagine, but you know what? That's probably the key to a lot of your success is that stubborn streak. Yeah, it's also annoying for a parent, but man, can it charge you when you need it, right?
Yeah. So it's like parents, every time you feel like you're at wit's end, just know they're going to do something with that one day. But, yeah, so we got married, and because I was like, the deeper I got into it, the more red flags. I was like, oh, I couldn't bring myself to go tell everybody, oh, I can't get married. Yes, you can. You can cancel a wedding.
Oh, wow.
You don't have to just go through it with it just because you said you would. Like, it's okay. But I am not going to complain too much because I have two beautiful children that are absolutely amazing. And, there goes my faith again. Like, God has a purpose, and they needed me and my ex-husband to be their parents, and they needed to be brought in to this world because with us being their parents and the adversity that they had gone through. Because the adversity my children have gone through, that's my son so my son is the one actually that got me into doing martial arts. So when he was 3, all he wanted to do was, let's go fight on the bed. I want to go fight on the bed. And so we'd go on the bed and I'd wrestle him and throw him around. And then I got pregnant with my daughter, and I'm like, okay, I can't fight on the bed with you. And then after I had my daughter, I was like, okay, wow, you've grown a lot in a year and a half, And so I was like, okay, we need to get you into martial art. And so he started Taekwondo, and he was going to be an 8-year-old black belt. I'm kind of like, no, you're not.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm like, I was like, no, I just didn't. I'm like, and the sense of defending yourself. Are you really a black belt? Like, I know there's a lot that goes into Taekwondo, and you're learning discipline, and he did have to work hard, but I loved hearing about Ju Jitsu because Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, there are no kid black belts. And so when you get your black belt, and the youngest you can even be a black belt is the year you turn 19, if you start as a small child, then, man, it means something. And then after really being in this and coaching and everything, the kids that are blue belts that are going against the adults are beating beginner adults, the young teens, so I just love it's truly a self-defense. They can legitimately defend themselves. So my son started training, and after college, I still like to go run, and I did adventure sport racing, which is a lot of fun. If you guys are ever looking to do something adventurous, check out adventure sport racing. I highly recommend it, especially they have co-ed ones too. So it's always something you can do to stay active with your spouse. And it was something I could do to get back in shape after having my children. And I had the little trailer that I would attach to my bike and put my son in, and then and so we would do that. Then we'd switch from that to the stroller. He'd jump in the stroller, and I'd take off running with him in the stroller. And then I even went kayaking with him, and I put him in the kayak. So we would go and train for the races. It was a lot of fun. He was like 3.5, almost 4, whenever I was doing that with him.
That's pretty impressive because especially 3.5, 4 years old, they're wiggly at that time. It's not just like sit down, or strap them to you where they're a baby and they can stay still. You're having to manage a kid and do your sports at the same time.
Yes, and I was real fortunate. My son wasn't extremely hyperactive or anything, so he could sit still. And so my daughter, probably not so much. She would have. She would have gotten.
That's my second one,
but. Yeah. So I started him about the same time in doing jiu-jitsu, and I was there all the time with him. And I like to go run, and so my fear whenever I would go out running would be I was always looking for a game plan. Like, okay, if somebody were to attack me right now, where would I go? And what would I do? And then I'd be like, okay, I'd run to that house right there. And then I'd be like, but what if it's the attacker's house? And I just ran to it. That was always like a fear in my mind. So that was like, I'm going to train jujitsu with my son. And 6 weeks into training, I was like, I'm going to do a competition, which is ludicrous. Wow. You don't know anything at 6 weeks, So, but I had a black eye. My opponent had a black eye. It was a good time. Like, we would headbutt each other, So we both got in to grab each other's legs. And her name was Kelly. I'll never forget. And I think we might even still be Facebook friends or something. But that was her first match too, and it was fun. I can't go back and watch it. It's ugly, but my technique is terrible. I'm like,
what was I thinking?
Yeah. Like, oh, terrible move, but oh well. It was a white belt move. It worked. But so my son started training, and then he had his Taekwondo background too. And so he wanted to do MMA, and it was hard to find a kids MMA program. And so I took him to Johnny Bedford, who was in the UFC at the time. He had a gym an hour away. And so every day I took him to that gym, and we started training there. And at this time, my ex-husband and I were still together, and he invested in the gym. And then he's like, man, it's going to take me a long time before I get my money back. And so he decided to open his own gym out in Azle under Fitness Fight Factory, Johnny Bedford's gym. But that wasn't Johnny's dream, Johnny's like, I don't want to go out to your gym. That's not my gym. That's your gym. And we were just blue belts. We had no business opening a gym. But I was a previous school teacher, and so I had a good group of kids that I was teaching, and I felt good about teaching children. And so I was like, look, he was like, there's no money in this. I want out. I'm going to go back to marketing. And I said, okay, let this be my thing, because it's either I go back to the classroom or I make it happen with this. And we have children here that are relying on us to teach them. So let this just be my thing, and you go and do your thing. And so I'd gone to, when I was with Fitness Fight Factory, we did our jujitsu from Johnny Bedford. I mean, not Johnny Bedford, from Genesis. So I was with Johnny Bedford, but we cross-trained with Genesis. And I guess I shouldn't leave this part out. So it was a very, very rocky 14 years of marriage. Like I said, I'm stubborn, right?
14 years of starting. Wait, hold on. 14 years of marriage or of, okay, all right, sorry, okay.
Yeah.
You fell out of my ear for a second. I'm like, wait.
So even though like I, had all the red flags like popping up in the beginning that I ignored, I am stubborn. I am so stubborn. And I literally tried everything with that marriage. I read all the books, the 5 love languages, created to be his helpmate, like everything I could do to try to make my marriage work. And during that time too, before I did MMA, okay, I'm going to back up just a little, because I feel like that's worthy of sharing to a group of moms that are, looking to make the most of their motherhood. With my son, I got pregnant, and I was pregnant with my son when I was teaching kindergarten, and it was in a Title I school, and in the city, and in Arlington, so between Fort Worth and Dallas. So, and it was a Title I school, and it was a pretty rough area. And I saw a lot of severe child abuse. I had a child try to stab me with scissors, and I was like, I don't want to be pregnant and teach at this school, because it's just really stressful, and I don't want to be under that kind of stress and be pregnant. So funny, I contacted the town I grew up in, which was Springtown, which just west of where we currently live. And my elementary school principal was still the principal at one of the elementary schools. And so she hired me as a first grade teacher there while I was pregnant. And I did my first semester. I mean, I taught right up until my son was Frank Breech. So he was head up, feet up, butt down. And he was not turning. And so I was definitely, had a scheduled cesarean. I knew the day I was going to have my baby. I did all my lesson plans right up until the day before and thought, I'm just going to go have my child. I'll be back in, 6 weeks. I'll just take 6 weeks. And then I was like, okay, I'll take the full 9 weeks.
You hold them for the first time. You're like, I can't let them go.
I know. It is the most amazing feeling ever. And they're just, man, that is so cool. That is cooler than anything I've ever won or achieved. Like just being able to have that child that you bring into this world, and all the fears that you have with, or am I going to be enough? Am I going to have enough to, it's just so surreal. I love being a mom. So I called up my principal after the 9 weeks and I was like, what would happen if I don't return? And she was like, luckily, the long-term sub that she hired just finished college in December, which is so hard to find a teaching job. You usually have to wait until the next school year to get hired. So she was like, I got you. She's like, I get it. Go enjoy your baby and your classroom's taken care of. And I was like, okay, awesome. So I did that and took the time off the rest of the year. And then my son started getting a little older and I was like, what can I do so that I can still be with him? And so I have my degree is, I specialize in early childhood development. So it gives me that extra certificate to endorsement to teach kindergarten and pre-K that you would have to have in public school. So, but with that, you can open a daycare. So So I started running the numbers like, open a daycare, or I could just register my home, have a small group, it's like business. You start playing a numbers game at some point, kind of like the kid that goes out and mows yards. They got enough, but then all of a sudden they start getting so much clientele. It's like they got to hire their buddy. Then they got to hire more lawn equipment, buy more lawn equipment. And so it's like, it's a numbers game. Where do I want to, do I open it? Do I take on all the overhead, or do I just register my home and just have a small group and have more quality time with my son? And so I did that route. So I opened Little Fish Christian Preschool, and it was in my home, and I had 6 kids that I taught throughout the school year. And in the summer I would take their siblings. So then I'd have 11 in the summer. Yeah.
It's a lot of kids.
It was very long hours, but I got to give my son the start that I wanted him to have. We were on a schedule. It was the ideal preschool of what would I want my son's preschool to look like. So my son got old enough to start pre-K. And so I went to a Christian school that had a preschool program that he could attend. And so I taught there, and then there got pregnant with my daughter. And so, again, I wanted to stay home with her. So I was like, well, what can I do to be at home with her and have the most quality time? So I was already leading a group at my church, teaching Sunday school, and the children's minister position came open. And so I was a children's minister for 4 years. And then I started cage fighting.
Children's minister? Cage fighter.
Yes.
Hey, kid, I'll take you down.
Yes. So I think the elders in the church were like, wow, she's gone off the deep end. Like, what in the world? She's like punching people in the face now. And
we put around too many kids. Get more teachers. Get more teachers. Give them backup.
yes, it was a nutty time. I was under a lot of stress. So with my previous marriage, we were married 14 years and we filed 2 bankruptcies.
Oh, wow.
You can only do that every 7 years. And the second time I was like Groundhog Day, like nothing's going to change. I can't do this anymore. And I will say doing MMA, I was getting so numb. I don't want to go into too many details. It is my children's father, but it was a rough time. For me, I'm not saying he was doing it intentional. I just think there's certain things about his character, and bless him, I wish he could, things were a little different for him, but it was mentally abusive. It was very mentally abusive for me. And, ups and downs constantly. And I've never had so much anger in my heart. And we would scream at each other and we would fight in front of the kids. And I remember just going into my room and just falling on the floor and just screaming like, I hate him. I mean, I had so much hate for him. And I would be like, I didn't want to get a divorce because, God, I love you, but I hate him. And there was like, there are ways out, of a marriage. God's like, hey, this is grounds for divorce. And I dealt with all of them. So I had to deal with a lot of that. And so I was like, you know what? I think also, whenever I was training MMA, just getting punched in the face, I could feel. It is sad, but I was so numb to life, and had so much hatred in my heart for my ex-husband. And hopefully he never finds this podcast. You asked me a question like last week, like how I was, I guess, prepared to be a gym owner or prepared to whatever title life brings you, children's minister. Oh gosh, I got to be Christ-like and all those things. I'm not. I'm getting labeled a minister, but my pastor is...
Wait, let me go check my wardrobe. Am I okay?
yeah, right? Well, that girl has to go all out. Get out the flocks. But, so I remember my pastor was amazing. He was a great counselor, and he was like, you don't have to worry about any title that's given to you in your life. Like, even if you go into business and you're looking at becoming, a CEO, some kind of executive, and they're going to give you this big title, you just do the work set before you to the best of your ability. And whatever title comes your way, then that's the title that you own. But it's not, you don't have to, oh goodness, like put so much emphasis on the title, on, the label, whatever you're being labeled, And I just remember that time in my life.
So tell me a little bit about, on the jiu-jitsu side, what was it that really got you jazzed about it? Was it a fight, or was it the gym? What was it that really got you?
Okay, so, well, first of all, the door closing for MMA. Not closing, but I didn't want to go through those extents of the EKG, MRI. So I was like, all right, I want to go compete at the highest levels. So I did IBJJF Adult World Championship, which is 20 years and up. At 30, they make you old in jiu-jitsu. At 30, you're master. So I was like,
so you're 36 and you're about to compete against 20 to like mid 20s, basically.
Yeah. 20-year-old blue belts, And I had 30 people in my bracket, which is a really good size bracket for jiu-jitsu. And I got third place. And I'll never forget, I lost 2-0. And I had those 2 points came from, I was penalized because I kept doing illegal gripping. And the ref was talking to me, but it was in Portuguese, and it was my very first IBJJF experience. I didn't know all the formalities, and I kept gripping illegally, and he already had given me 2 penalties, and then so he awarded her 2 points, and then I lost my match. 2-0, but I made the podium. And I'm 36 and, made the podium at the world tournament. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to go do Master Worlds. And that was my age. And at the time, when I first got my black belt, jiu-jitsu hasn't been around like a lot of the other martial arts. So I was one of the first of 500 female black belts in North and South America. So Canada, US, Mexico, Brazil, there were less than 500 when I got mine. I don't know the exact number, but there were less than 500. There's a lot. I really feel blessed. I do have, I'm remarried now. I absolutely love my husband. He has been such a blessing and just, I have 2 more children now with him. And we talk about that all the time. We can take credit as parents, I can say, even though I said, I did a preschool in my house and it was everything I would want. And my students were all in gifted programs and but they were already born too with the natural gift of being able to learn, and yes, I got to pour into them and it did give them that head start that, but they would have eventually been recognized in school, over time. It's just as the teachers and everybody started nurturing them, pouring into them, guiding them. You are just born with natural gifts too, so, and sometimes those gifts are never awakened, it's you don't even know you have it because maybe you're too scared to step out and test yourself and put yourself in a vulnerable position. Because, even doing jiu-jitsu, I was terrified. The first 6 weeks of training, for sure. I would go to class every day on the way there. My stomach would be in knots like it would right before I ran a race, and I'm just going to practice. But it was, what are they going to do to me today? Oh, they're going to try to choke me or break my arm. But then you tap, You're not really getting, hopefully, put to sleep and your limb snapped or anything because you learn to tap, But, okay, so with that, stepping out in faith, doing things greater than you imagined. I remember when I went through my divorce, so right after I did MMA in 2013, 2014, was when I was like, okay, I went and opened Genesis Jiu-Jitsu Azel as a sole proprietor, and my ex went and did his marketing. And then that year, we pretty much by the end of the year, we knew we were done. It wasn't, and I separated, and our divorce was finalized in 2015. So 2014 is when I opened Genesis Jiu-Jitsu Azel, and it was mine. It was my thing. And even though my ex kind of helped open that door for me, it was still my thing that I shortly after I opened, I became a purple belt, and I would train every day with my instructor. Every opportunity that was given to me, I just absorbed everything. I went to Brazil. I had the opportunity to go to Brazil twice and learn. I traveled all over the United States competing. I did 6 Fight to Win Pro fights, and when it first started, they really needed women to get on their card and stuff. Like, so they would pay for my travel expenses to go and challenge another woman in a different city. And a lot of times
that sounds funny. Someone's paying for me to go and challenge another woman.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like whenever I was first started though, there wasn't this woman. Like, we have a lot of people have a misconception when they come into our gym in Azel because we have so much women leadership. But that's so rare.
You do. And we love that, especially having two girls, that they're being trained by these amazing women, you know, so they have something to model. To them, it's just, that's how it is.
Yeah. But when I first started, it wasn't like that. I fought men. I went to the men's bracket because they didn't have any female purple belts at a tournament. So I went up in weight and fought men. And, you know, so it wasn't, I didn't have this support group that, okay, I signed up for a pro fight. I didn't have a female coach that I could go and ask to travel with me. And so I was in this awkward position of asking a male coach and having to pay for their travel expenses to get them to go. That's not fair to ask them to go and then and they have to pay for everything. So, but then it was also this, it just was this awkward position to where, you know, I was a single mom too. And I had a gym, and and it was a struggle. I was living with my dad. There's no way my gym could afford the rent and a home mortgage or even an apartment. Like, I couldn't, the money wasn't there. I was still trying to, to make it happen. And so I would get these pro fights, and there were several times I went by myself. So it's like when my athletes sign up for matches and stuff, I'm like, you got this. You got it. You can go out, and you don't have to have, it feels good to have somebody in your corner. I'm not going to lie. But they can do it, and even with my students, sometimes we might have 15 kids sign up for a tournament, and there might be me and one other coach, and they have them going at the same time. And sometimes the tournaments will hold up the match until we can get over there. But I'm like, I need you to be able to fight without me, because ultimately I am teaching them a self-defense. If they ever needed that, they're not going to have a coach telling them how to get out. I try to teach them to be intrinsically motivated and to want it because they want it,
Well, and that's just such a huge lesson for any of us, no matter where we are in life. And so many of us wait for something outside of ourselves to be like, that was it. That was the thing I needed. And now I can go and I can do the thing. And it doesn't work that way. You need to have that intrinsic motivation first, that's something, that little fire within you, and follow that. And once you do it, then it's the action, like you've been saying here. If anything, I've been noticing is you say, I'm stubborn and I want this and I want this. But the one thing that I noticed is you were in continual action. And that would probably be my theme for you, is there was never a time that you weren't in action, even if you were scared.
Yes, absolutely. And there were times when the numbers didn't make sense to continue a gym, and I'm like, I just got to make as much as I would teaching school or I'll go back to the school, and teach school. And, I just remember, just reading scriptures and stuff, and just that verse, the be faithful with the little things. And I'm like, man, I don't know. I can't quite have control over what my numbers are going to be next month, how many students I'm going to bring in. But I know I can be in control of what God's given me today. And what can I do today what do I have that I can be faithful with? So even like the moms, when your kids are preschool age and you're like, oh my goodness, are they ever going to be of school age where they can go to school and stuff? It's not going to be like this. One day you're going to look back and those are just precious moments. So just be faithful with the little time that you're given today, even though it seems like very long days. It's so short. My son's in college now, and I miss him so much. And, and I know this is my daughter. She's in high school. These are her final years, and I'm like, I don't want to miss a thing, and thankfully I have the gym built up enough to where I can take time off to go watch her wrestle and long days and long hours at the gym. I was modeling that for my kids that were watching, like that persistence, that dedication, that hard work. And I would get them from school, they would do their homework, I would teach the classes, and it's like, where's time for dinner? So I would throw food into a crock pot, and I'd pick up my daughter from school and she's like, what's for dinner? Or she would see me carrying the crock pot into the gym and she's like, not the crock.
Oh no.
Not the crock again. The crock. And so it's like, that's what was simple and easy. And I knew they were getting a good meal, but it was, a lot of long hours and sacrifices, to get us to where we're at today, where the gym's, doing good. It's thriving. I now get to share coaching responsibilities and get to allow my staff to have opportunities to grow as an instructor and an athlete and moms. I love that because a lot of gyms, they don't have many women coaching, but we do have a lot of women at the gym, and I've been able to give other moms an opportunity to provide while they stay at home,
Yes,
So I love that. I love that the gym has been my ministry now. So it's like, okay, so my three loves are all like, I just do my thing and they all just kind of fell into place, It's like, I love serving people, I love serving the Lord. So if I just feel like that's done through action and, just being able to show love to people and be there to serve them and help them to grow. And then staying active and being athletic and being able to be physical and to, work with kids. It's been an amazing opportunity.
If there's someone listening and they're kind of on the fence of, do I do this thing? Do I not? What would you say? I'm guessing you would say, yes, go do it. I mean, you're probably
absolutely.
What would you say is not the value, but maybe the characteristic that served you best in creating success?
I guess my stubbornness. Because, even when the gym was like not really thriving, I was still stubborn to see it through and to see it grow, So that's definitely, I'd probably say that's a character trait that's been a thorn in my side at times in my life, but it has also helped me find success in my life too. So, yeah.
And then what would be, man, you have so many things. I was going to say, of all the things, what would be the thing that you are most proud of having achieved?
Man, the thing I'm most proud of, my children. I'm at a place now where it's like, okay, I find myself with a lot of administrative duties at the gym. I don't train like I used to. A lot of that is I'm very content now. I love my life. I love my husband. And also like doing other things that are active. My professor's into rock climbing. I enjoy that. I could totally see myself going that route and doing,
Okay, so what you're telling me is the next place you're opening is going to be a rock climbing gym.
Oh, that would be amazing, right?
See? I called it first. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I want to thank you so much, Karen. Seriously, you've dropped so much gold in this, and it's literally just like the things that you have done in just such a brief period of time too, because really it's like a 10-year, well, maybe like a 14-year process. And that sounds like a lot, and it's not at the same time.
No.
And yeah, when you have kids, 14 years, it's like, it's nothing. And so I thank you for sharing all of that and for, telling us of those moments too, when it was hard, because sometimes we just see the success and we think, oh, it's always been that way for them. It must've been easy. Oh, she's naturally athletic. Of course she is a 6-time world champion. She probably went out the first time and got a belt, and we don't see all the struggle and the heartache and the stubbornness and the black eyes and the living on, in dad's house and the heartache and hoping you're doing right by your kids. We just see the success. And there was so much of that had to go into it, and that built you into who you are today. And that it's just such a beautiful person. So thank you so much.
Oh, thanks. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me and this opportunity to share. I hope if it inspires somebody in some way, I'm happy.
Good. Okay, well, with that, I have to end with a joke because I love jokes. Oh, yeah. And I know that your new husband, he's in law enforcement, so I got to get my cheesy dad joke, and we'll pull a little cop thing here. So, what did the policeman say to his belly button?
Belly button? I have no idea.
You're under a vest. Okay. Delayed response. That works still. I'll take it.
That's hilarious.
So now you can tell them that later.
Okay, I will. And then, if just depending on if your listeners like what they hear, there's a lot to our story with me and my husband. I always wanted to be a police officer. That didn't happen, but I think I make a good police officer's wife, and I think we make a good team, and it's a fun story how we met. And so, if they ever want to hear more or hear any of his,
we'll have to have you back. Well, maybe we can do like a How You Met series. Ooh, I like that idea. That How You Met, just get people inspired to fall back in love again.
Sounds like a good Valentine's Day.
There you go. There you go. All right. So with that, I'm going to call it a wrap. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope, your brain is grabbing at least one idea that you got out of here and you feel like you're on fire and that you can go out and do it because, man, if Karen could do it, you could do it, right?
Absolutely.
With that, yes, I will leave you until next week. Make it fun, make it rich, and bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, Mitch.
Bye.